ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz. On this week's episode, we'll be talking about the movie Gladiator II. But of course, before we get to any of that, I'm joined today by Rhino Nathaniel Gingrich.
Yo, I'm Rhino Nathaniel.
Yeah,
What do I know?
Go finish. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all I had.
Scraping off some of that rhino horn for yourself, you little weirdo.
Yeah, that was kind of not commented on in the movie after that weirdly specific scene.
It was foreshadowing, Nathaniel.
No, I don't think so. Don't think so on that occasion.
At no point does that come back up in the plot.
No, there's another rhino later on.
Old Chekhov's rhino.
Spoilers,
sword.
I guess.
Kinda.
Spoilers for you folks. There are 2 rhinos in this movie. More than you would think, probably.
True, maybe.
But yeah. What were you going to say, Adam, before I was introducing myself?
I was going to say how I heard that it's inaccurate to put rhinos in the Coliseum.
Oh, well.
Because they never did that.
Well, if we were just judging things on accuracy, then we wouldn't have much movies.
Correct.
Plus, how do they know? Who's coming up with this information?
Maybe it was a
True,
baby
they
rhino.
definitely could have.
Did they think about if it was like just a guy called Rhino, maybe?
I don't think they ever considered that, Nathaniel.
I was going to say, Nathaniel, do you have a favorite rhinoceros species?
No, I would say like I'm as an animal, I'm fairly ambivalent on rhinos. Like, save the rhinos, you know. I'd like them to be around. But like if I had like a rhino or maybe like a buffalo, I think I'd go like a buffalo. Those are like they're kind of cooler to me, and they're same kind of like big, chonky animals.
Yeah,
you know.
The only species of rhino I'm aware of is the black rhino,
which I think is the one that's like dangerously close to being dead. Like they're pretty much extinct, right?
Correct.
I believe so. Yeah, and I'm on to Tyler's point. I'm only aware of, ironically, a black rhinoceros, a white rhinoceros, and an Indian rhinoceros.
Sure.
The only 3 rhinos I know.
They really came out at a time where naming wasn't really at a high level.
We're on some binary shit.
The devs dropped rhinos right into the game. It was we were
just figuring out colors. We were pretty excited about that.
It was right around the time we were naming bears as well.
Yeah. You can chart us though, because we went colors first, and then we went geographical. We named some other shit when we found the Indian rhinos. But yeah, I mean, rhinos are cool, but I've never like thought to myself, now there's a favorite animal of mine. I've just been, if anything, positively, admiring them.
Every time I hear the word rhino, I think of Ace Ventura and that very graphic scene. If you know, you know.
I don't know, but don't know if I want to know.
Yeah, I don't think I know what
the second
one.
one.
Oh man. Just look up Ace Ventura rhino and you'll figure it out.
I don't know if I will, man. This is not sounding like something I want to Google.
Are you aware of Ace Ventura?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just a Jim Carrey bit.
Yeah, so it's good.
I promise. It went to cinemas. It was fine.
It sure did.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
this is not some dark web shit.
It's not too far off. I mean. Yeah, okay. Well, now I know what you're referencing.
Blake, meanwhile, has not commented for a couple moments here. Just locked in on the computer.
Blake's locked in.
Yeah, I was trying to get some rhino lore here.
I thought Ace Ventura was just scarring Blake in the background there.
Would you like to know more?
Would you like to know more?
Blake's just like, who the fuck thought of this?
Also joining us today is long lost Tyler Verdalis.
I've been long lost.
But now
I've been
he's
lost
found.
long. And now I'm found, yeah. Yep.
Very poetic.
Well, there's poetry in this movie. And I took notes.
There is.
Yeah.
Little Virgil for you boys at home.
Yep. Pronounced
That made me
Virgil, if you know.
I don't. What is that referencing?
Nothing.
Yeah,
It's just
got it.
Me, yeah. Me
Okay.
being an idiot.
All right. You know, you have so many references. You have a deep pocket of references.
I do, yeah.
Ty,
No, sometimes
that
I'm
it's
just
hard
an
to tell.
idiot.
It's hard to tell. No,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's on me. That's fair.
No.
That's fair.
No, it's definitely on me.
Rounding out the squadron over there, of course, is Big Boat BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up? What up?
You think you're
Lots
so
of boats in
good
this
because
movie.
you have so many boats.
Is that
Have
a
I,
reference, or is that Nathaniel
did I
just
get
talking
Big
out of
Boat
his ass?
Blake for Jaws?
Yes.
You might have.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think it was Bigger Boat Blake or something
Okay.
like that.
We're gonna need a bigger boat, Blake.
Yeah.
Along those lines. But you know, I couldn't think of much else at the B here, and I was like, there are boats in this movie.
There are
quite a
boats in
few
this
of them.
movie, which I
Boats.
have some thoughts on. But yes,
Oh,
there are
alright.
boats in this movie.
I'm a big fan of the boat sequences here.
Nobody told you there weren't gonna be there. That's unrealistic. There aren't boats in the Coliseum, or did,
Well,
Rhinos.
No, there is evidence, I think, of them flooding the Coliseum.
This is true.
I think there's archaeological evidence of that.
I'm aware.
they
I just
would
think
do
it's
that.
funny that some people think that that's possible, but it's completely impossible for them to have a rhino there.
Well, what's really impossible, honestly, is their concrete. Now, listen here.
Following up last week. Can we get a concrete check on this edition, Adam? 20 years later, how's it holding up?
16 years.
Better than ever before.
Yeah.
All right, Nathaniel, let me tell you that
Weathered.
concrete, it's been worn down and rebuilt by its lonesome. It's holding better.
As I understand it only gets stronger with time, if you told me.
Correct.
But
Some say we have all the knowledge on how it was built, but we have no idea how it was made.
Some say.
I'm still waiting for how it's made.
Adam got to describing it, and Tyler's like, "Well, it sounds awfully like we know how it's made." Right?
We all know what it's exactly
Again.
is what it's made of, but
Again,
how it
this
gets
was
into
a
that form.
This is a recent discovery, and I don't think they've confirmed it. Obviously, they haven't. You know, it hasn't. I'm not seeing a lot of
I'm
Roman
not seeing-
concrete now.
I'm not seeing
I mean,
another Coliseum.
Technically,
Right.
Adam's defense, this could be relatively true. We do know the overall, things that it was made out of, but we don't necessarily know the exact measurements of those things that were in said concrete. So,
Listen.
And I think they hypothesize there's something in the process of making it. I think, like I said last week, what I remember hearing is that they like heated the concrete while they mixed it or something like that. I think that
we
was
don't
part of
have
it.
the ability to do that yet.
yeah,
so
We really, we're still waiting on fire. So
This story immediately goes back to Pulp Fiction, where they're like, the evidence of absence is not the absence of evidence.
What I'm hearing is, in a cost of living crisis, Roman concrete might be the next material worth investing in. All my houses.
we are not where concrete is, and concrete is not where we are.
It's not here, and we're not there.
I'm having another. Is this a reference?
Yes, to the movie we watched.
Yeah. Where he
From what
says,
movie?
we
Gladiator
from
2.
Gladiator 2, where he's like, we are not where death is, and death is not where we are.
Got it. Great writing in this film. I wish that they said something about concrete.
There's just
If there was a concrete
I would've
reference in this
laughed
movie,
out
I would
loud in the
have jumped out of my chair
Yeah.
and like pointed to Nathaniel. I would have lost my mind.
I want
if they had,
the-
like referenced.
I want there to be
concrete.
like an ad on the Coliseum wall, like it's the green monster in Fenway from like Johnny Roman's Quick Creek
Yes,
Roman
man.
concrete.
Yeah, the magic mix. Get your concrete
Yeah.
now.
Cornelius is concrete.
There you go. In a burlap sack.
Commodus is concrete. Do you want it? I don't know.
All right, you guys ready to
Yeah. Anyway, we've
to it here?
enough talking about Romans. Let's talk about the movie Gladiator, which does, although they didn't talk about it, it does feature a lot of concrete. Just saying,
True.
Yeah. Anyway, Nathaniel, if listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how our review segment works?
What up, folks? If you're new, or perhaps you've just forgotten, the way the review segment works here on Back Row Banter is it is split into two sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. Pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the movie itself, who wrote it, who directed it, who's in it, all that good stuff. We'll go around and decide if we recommend the movie. It's got to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. We'll go over the IMDb summary, see how we feel about that as well, too. And then we'll delve into the spoilers. If you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, go ahead and check out and check back in where you see it written in the show notes. And come and listen to us rank it up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. With that being said, Adam, tell me about Gladiator.
Gladiator, I would love to. This is a new movie, of course, rated R, with a runtime of 2 hours and 28 minutes. So just short, just a little bit shorter than the original Gladiator. And it's got an IMDb rating of 7.0 out of 10. The movie is directed by Ridley Scott, of course, and it's written by Peter Craig and David Scarpa, based on characters by David Franzani. The cast includes Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen, Joseph Quinn, Fred Heschinger, and I think I'll probably leave it there. Those are like our main cast members, and of course there's a long side crew here that accompanies us here and there. Nathaniel, is there anyone that I'm missing that you would like to shout out?
The left hand of Russell Crowe.
The doctor characters?
Don't see that on here.
It's not on there.
Oh.
It's just because they played that scene that I was referencing last week, and that's clearly his hand.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our major cast members here. Good to see Pedro Pascal. Love that man. He's back on the Entropy list. This is our first Pedro movie since Wonder Woman.
Oddly enough, I believe so.
Because I know he's been in The Last of Us show, which is like probably the most recent thing I've seen.
That's the last thing I've watched him in.
But then he was in that Nicolas Cage movie which I didn't see and we didn't watch on the pod.
Oh, that movie's funny.
I've heard it's good. No, yeah. I've heard it's good. And I don't know what else he's been in that's like not TV shows. Like I don't know what movies he's been in recently. But yeah, this might be our first Pedro since Wonder Woman 84, which is too long. Too much time between Pedro Pascal appearances on the pod. But yeah, glad to have him back. The IMDb summary of the movie reads as follows. After his home is conquered by the tyrannical emperors who now lead Rome, Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum and must look to his past to find strength to return to the glory of Rome to its people. Holy crap, too many twos at the end there. Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum and must look to his past to find strength to return the glory of Rome to its people.
Glad to theater.
It all fits. Nathaniel, thank you. You know what? Now I'm less mad about it.
I like calling it Gladiator.
Gladiator.
I like that one more. That one's good. That one's good too. How are we feeling here, fellas? First watch for everybody, of course. It's a new movie.
No, saw it 6 months ago.
That's crazy, man.
Second watch, actually. Yeah, me and
that
Ridley
episode
Scott
would have. Dude, if we were all able to see this movie 6 months ago, this episode would have been insane. Like the numbers.
How did they know?
If you have connections like that, you should really. I have a feeling we'd be a lot further along here than where we're at.
Guys, I'm trying to keep it on the download. They don't let the listeners know that we actually record these 6 months in advance.
Well, fuck.
It's crazy how clued in we are to current events.
It's a gift, man. I don't want people to know about this technology.
I wish I could have distributed GNX 6 months ago, but it just wasn't the right time.
Things happen when they have to.
Anyway, how are we feeling, Nathaniel? How you've had 6 months to think about it, Nathaniel? How are you?
Yeah, right.
I've developed a take, and let me give it to you here. I've marinated on it. I'm feeling pretty ambivalent overall. I think I've used that word earlier today as well too in the pod. But
right.
I think
I'm a good word.
I enjoyed it. I felt like I had a decent time at the movies, but I felt like there's winners and there's losers coming out of this. I would say there's goods and bads, odds and ends, mixed, I guess is the short way to say that overall. I think Ridley Scott's still talented, even at his age. I think, late career Ridley, he's making a lot of kind of interesting choices, and he seems to be operating in this mode of like, well, listen, if I don't make these sequels or these kind of like things to my movies, they're going to get someone else to. So fuck it, I'll just do it myself kind of thing. And, I don't dislike that. I think this movie works as kind of, a vehicle to watch Denzel be Denzel, which is always fun. Not necessarily what I was expecting from a Gladiator sequel. I thought some of the fights were pretty cool as well too, but did it feel like a sequel to the movie Gladiator? I don't know if it did more than it felt like someone making a sequel to something that came out like 30 years ago, but it's like a completely different kind of team behind it now or something like that. And I guess I would describe maybe that feeling to kind of like some of the retcons that they make in this movie. And kind of how, like, I would think this movie almost works better for someone who hasn't seen the original. Like, and I would be intrigued if you went in with this and having not seen original Gladiator, what you would be coming out feeling.
Can I put something out there that kind of goes along with your thought?
Of course.
Which I was thinking about a little bit is like this, to your point, doesn't necessarily feel like a sequel. It almost feels like a requel. Like the
100%,
reboot sequel kind of thing. Like that, it doesn't feel like Gladiator 2. It feels like they're trying to reboot the franchise while keep legacy characters. Exactly. Scream 5, Star Wars, newest trilogy, like that kind of thing.
A Top Gun Maverick, maybe.
Sure,
even.
Exactly. Yeah. Top Gun Maverick would be a good analogy. Now they executed that one probably a little bit better.
I would agree. But I think like maybe that's what they were aiming for. In creating this,
they were
maybe
aiming for Top Gun Maverick, probably got about Scream 5 level of like requel sequel,
that's a good shorthand in my opinion. But yeah, that's where I'm at. We'll talk obviously a little bit more in spoilers. I feel like the internet's take is that like Paul Mescal might be a little bit miscast, or that he's not quite acting. Denzel in this movie is constantly like, you're an instrument of rage. You're the craziest guy I've ever seen. I can tell how angry you are. And he seems to just be kind of like grimacing occasionally and like staring off in the distance kind of thing.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rage.
Not in the way that you feel like Russell Crowe could lose it at any moment and just like keel off and just drop Commodus when he gets too close to him kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Paul Mescal a little too stoic in his performance. At times, I would say I would agree with that for sure.
But that's more or less my take. I'd say I'd recommend it. Ridley Scott on an off day is even better than most guys on their best days. And anytime I get to see Denzel chew up on the screen like that, that's always great too. So I didn't find myself at the end of it being bored or feeling like I had wasted my time, but I didn't feel like I was going to be rushing out to see it again.
Yeah. It seems like we're at the exact same spot. We're like, hey man, I got what I was looking for. This is, like you said, this is Ridley Scott. He's got some great action sequences, some great fight scenes. The opening action sequence I think is awesome. So like, it's really, really good. Just, the first fight scene or like opening action scene is awesome. The fight scenes throughout are pretty good. But it's it doesn't.
It's missing something, right?
Yeah, it's missing something. I was about to say, just nothing stands out to me as like this movie did act exceptionally well. That this did feel kind of like a generic reboot. It just felt a little forced. Didn't feel like this was I don't know, necessarily like the sequel I would have wanted. I almost would have rather them just make another Gladiator movie that has a whole new cast of characters, like has nothing to do with the original characters. If like this is kind of what we were gonna get. But I obviously, you want some kind of connection to the original, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. That being said, though, like it is, it's a good time. Is it going to be, a top 5 movie of the year for me? Probably not. But is it worth seeing? Yeah, it is, and I think it's worth seeing in theaters. Even, not that you desperately have to go catch it in theaters, but it's always one of those ones that's going to be better on the big screen. And yeah, I would recommend it overall, but I wasn't like super overly impressed or jumping out of my chair with excitement and really, as Nathaniel said, like itching to go and see this again. Like I was just kind of got what I came for. Had a good time with it, and kind of just moved on with my life. Just one of those movies. Blake, Ty.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, right? And ultimately, objectively is it a good film? Yes, you got Ridley Scott directing. The cast is awesome. It's always great to see Denzel in a role like this where he's acting his ass off, right? Every scene he's in, he's phenomenal. I guess kind of my thing is maybe I don't have the huge nostalgia tie to the original Gladiator, as we touched on last week. And this film, to some extent, kind of feels like, I guess Adam effectively said it worse, of a requel, where the story seems awfully similar to the one that I just watched last week, right? In the film that's 24 years old, or something of that nature. And yeah, I guess I just don't ultimately know who's asking for this film. Not that it's bad, but like it's not really bringing anything new to the universe. The fight scenes are cool, as expected. Choreography is good. It's bigger, better, right? All the things you look at for a sequel or requel. Bigger, better, more blood, cool arenas. But yeah, ultimately, it's like I just don't know why I would ever watch this over watching the original Gladiator. And I think that's kind of my first take.
A good take. And I think I would probably agree. You guys have obviously hit quite a few points. I think some writing could have been better for specific scenes or specific characters. We can definitely get into it once we get into spoilers. I don't know. This is where I kind of struggle. I like Denzel a lot in pretty much everything he is in. I don't know if it was just kind of the way he was kind of told to do certain things or what, but he didn't really strike like a really big chord for me. I really don't think anybody did. And yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's because I do have such a found spot for the first one. And this is, I don't know, yeah, this just didn't quite hit for me. I will say that overall, I am still a recommend. It's still like one of those blockbuster movies. Kind of like what Blake said, it is bigger, better. I don't think, well, I guess I won't say better, but it is bigger. They obviously, wanted to do things on a bigger scale and kind of give you that wow factor. But I think at some points pacing felt super off with this. I think, maybe that could have maybe a second look at editing and where you wanted to cut certain things and put certain things could have, done this movie a little bit more justice. Maybe we get a director's cut that, is another half hour longer and it's just, put in the right direction.
I heard there's a 4 hours director cut coming out.
Well, I'm okay with that too. You know, if I'm willing to watch Injustice for 4 hours, then you know, I would have to say that I would definitely sit down and watch something from Ridley Scott for 4 hours. You know, I do think that he's still very talented. I think he still has a really unique eye. And there were some scenes in this that absolutely kicked ass. So I think I'm definitely a recommend, but overall, I do have some pain points that we can talk about.
Cool. So recommends all around then, yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I
was gonna say
that.
Blake might be.
Yeah, Blake, I knew you were kind of.
I try to keep the not recommend for like films I think are bad. Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think this is a bad
Borderlands.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So I don't think I'm gonna go on the ledge and say I can't recommend it.
Speaking of Borderlands, really quick, I was looking at what
You rewatched
4K. Well, no, I would never do that.
I'm
I'm not
joking.
stupid. But I was looking at what 4K discs are on Amazon, and I saw Borderlands has a 4K release, and I clicked on it, and it said like 4,000 had bought this in the last month or something like that, and I was
Hilarious.
like, who the hell is buying this movie?
You want to talk about inflated numbers, Drake?
Right. Whoa.
That's just the studio buying them all.
To burn them in a parking lot.
Right. Forget ever happened.
You don't play the same song 6 times live and say they're inflated numbers and the whole crowd goes crazy. You're crazy.
Anyway, I agree, but let's get into the spoilers. We're gonna go ahead and head into spoilers. If you have not seen Gladiator, Gladiator 2, and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead and check the episode description where I've left a timestamp you could jump to, where you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon our Entropy list. Spoiler time, Nathaniel.
Shit goes down.
Shit does go down.
As it often does on this podcast and in movies.
So, bad news if you're a lady in this movie, you're going to get shot in the chest with an arrow.
Yes.
And be relegated to like maybe 10 lines of dialogue.
Yeah,
She got more dialogue in this movie than the last one.
She actually did. Yeah, she's got a better
did.
role in this one, honestly,
For
than
sure.
she has in the first one.
No, she absolutely does, but she's like the only female character, but you know, it's all right. It's the Roman times, you know. How about that opening fight or that opening action invasion scene?
It was cool. I like
That was
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, the action in this is awesome. Let's be clear.
How funny that we were talking about Doctori and he shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter Mensa.
Yeah, I was
Shout
like,
out.
oh shit.
And then like I'm so used to him being a badass too, and I was just like, oh well, okay. I guess he's gonna die
He
in the
gets
first
his
fight.
neck ripped out by a hairless baboon.
Those were some weird choices as well too. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's kind of in.
It felt out of place. The monkey ones, just more of the design of them. I've never seen a monkey look quite like that. I don't know.
Well, when you're starved and forced to fight for your life and food, I think your overall body changes. But
I don't know. It made me feel like the Hunger Game. Monsters that they alter. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, these seem like they were like altered somehow. You know, like yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's not like it was that much of a stretch, but I was also like, really? Like, I don't know. All these monkeys look like this. I don't know. But yes, that was a choice.
Yeah, you know, I think there are some things that kind of lose me. That wasn't necessarily one of them.
Yeah.
A lot of one of the things that kind of made me mad is Hanno. They like the ending, for example. He was like, they're all standing there on opposite sides of the little creek, and he's like, some of you are expecting me to say things, but I don't have a lot to say. And then he goes into like a 15-minute monologue, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, so there were some things in this that just kind of bothered me. I did not like the twins at all.
Twins
I thought they were completely useless. I think that there could have been, obviously I know that like the menacing character in this is supposed to be Denzel, but I think there still could have been something there.
100%.
It was also funny that like the opening before the opening where they're like, thanks for really coming out and seeing this in theaters, and like the younger looking twin didn't say anything on screen there, and he basically doesn't say anything the entire movie. I'm like, so this is just who you are. I'm like, I don't understand why you're even here. And so yeah, I have some frustrations around that. And I think that Denzel has been menacing in other movies without kind of the things that he's done in this. Like if you look at Training Day, like he was like one of the worst people that you could possibly think of. But he was he still had this facade of I'm a cop, I'm a good guy. And in this, he's kind of trying essentially to do the same thing. Like I'm a good person. I've come up from nothing. I was a slave, and look at what I've done. And he just didn't seem like that scary to me. And I don't know what it was. The one scene too where he like sticks out his tongue. I can't remember the exact scene or like where or what his exact line was, but he kind of like stuck out his tongue after he said something and like shook his head, kind of like to look like a crazy person. But like you don't get to that point in the Roman Empire by being necessarily a crazy person. I don't need to see that side of you. You've done plenty of other things to get to that point without being labeled, a crazy person. And I think that his character seemed very, I don't know, confused in my mind. But yeah, there was just, some things that bothered me overall. Like I said, I think this movie would have so much more if the editing was better, if maybe you give Denzel the lines that you kind of want and just let him run with it, and maybe give him less direction. But yeah, I guess those are just kind of my pain points.
Go ahead, Nathaniel.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think the editing, or you bring up the editing, and I think with the kind of like confirmation that there's like a 4-hour cut in there, there's probably a lot of kind of different versions of this movie that you can make. But I don't necessarily disagree with your take on there as well too. But I just found myself just enjoying watching Denzel work, I feel like, as well too. Adam?
I would agree. I don't think this is Denzel's best performance by any means. Sure. He's had a lot of good ones, some of which we feature on the podcast. But I still think it's fun watching him try to like figure out a new way to approach this kind of villain character. Because like you said, we've already seen him in Training Day. We've seen him in, I guess you could say, American Gangster. He's kind of a villain anti-hero kind of guy. But like we've seen him take on so many roles, and I think to me, I kind of read his performance here as just like him trying to find a new way to take on this character that could easily just be like, hey, I'm a malicious villain who has terrible intent for everybody. But, there's some, he's got some kind of somewhat interesting motivations kind of for that character. And I don't know, it just seemed like he was trying to have fun, trying to find a new way to play a villain like that. And so like, it wasn't his best performance, but I definitely had fun watching him go around on screen and kind of just, it seemed like he was having fun. He had some good line delivery and some like fun lines throughout the movie. Like when he goes to the other guy's house and he goes, "Listen, I own your house." It's just like, it's so good.
And then he gives him the information. And he's like, "Okay, pack."
Yeah, pack quickly. Yeah, he's just like, it's stuff like that where it's like he kept me engaged throughout this movie. Whereas like we had Paul Mescal and kind of already talked about how he was maybe a little bit too reserved for his role, and the kids I wasn't really grasped onto. And what's the actress's name? Is it Connie Nielsen? She was great, but still I don't feel like, again, I had more to do. But didn't quite have a ton of screen time, or at least as much as like if she was, just didn't have as much as Denzel, and like couldn't I don't know, didn't have as much to work with necessarily because she's still stuck in kind of the same role. But yeah, I don't know. Denzel was, I think, capturing my attention for the most part in this movie, and felt like he kind of brought a level of brevity and kind of fun to it that was missing from other performances and maybe throughout the rest of the movie. I don't know.
But boats.
Yeah, man. Some of these scenes were killer. The filling of the Coliseum was absolutely epic.
I liked his run. His run up the stairs to the Coliseum. It felt like kind of reminded me of like when John Jones runs into the octagon or something.
It reminded me of Russell Crowe. That's how he ran up those stairs.
Sure.
And
yeah.
I thought that was a pretty cool tip of the hat to the first one. And I also like the fact that they kind of wrap that all up. I think watching the first one so many times, you could obviously guess that love interest was there, and that Lucius was his son, and I think you put that together rather quickly. That was one of the other things too. Like the first one, the plot just seemed like it had so much meat on the bone, and I don't know if that takes away from this one, or what it is, but this one just seemed like it was like just jumping around so much, so fast. It was like it was like, okay, you're this guy, you get captured, you're in the Gladiator, you're already like this set status. It wasn't like something that like Russell Crowe's character had to like build up. It felt like maybe there was just more time there.
Well, we in the original one, we understand Commodus's motivations from like that first act, right? Like for the first time he has the moments alone with his father. We totally understand why he is doing what he's doing and what he's doing. But he also realizes that he's like not an idiot and is like shrewd with like has a plan. He's like, I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to get the Roman people on my side, kind of thing. Whereas like obviously the emperors in this one are very much just that we're idiots and like go and do the thing, and that like the person that will become the antagonist, i.e. Denzel, we don't meet until like a third of the way in, and then even then his true motivations aren't revealed until the last 90% of the movie's 90% over, and at that point
90%
last 90% of the movie, it's all waiting there until it's 90% over. At which point, like, we've already kind of guessed at what it is too,
for sure.
And that's a similar thing to like, I mean, we haven't even talked about the whole reveal on the name thing, which was spoiled in the trailers and like in the IMDb summary as well too. And they treat it like this is huge thing, wherein everyone in the movie is like, if you've paid half a iota of attention, we know who this guy is. So like, why are we doing this other than it's like, well, it's just kind of what the plot demands to do. And
I mean, even like that scene where Denzel is pressing the other senator for information when he's telling him he's going to take his house. He even says, like, there's a gladiator and it could be her son. And he's like, I know who it is and I know what it is. And so it's like, okay, well then where are we going?
Yeah. I almost think it would have been easier if he wasn't, or it would have been more interesting if he wasn't the child of that, but like instead he was like, I don't know, one of the companions that kid met up along his way, and like he like took over his identity at some point or something, or he just knew like everything about, like maybe he was one of the like another one of the orphans that he met, and then that dude died like 10 years ago, and then he's just like, okay, well, I've got this name, but once I get to Rome, I can pretend to be this guy, kind of thing. And I even thought that would be
kind of, I guess now that you say that, it's kind of a little bit more upsetting that it could just be anybody.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying.
You think it would hold a little bit more if it was his son, and it doesn't feel like it does.
Yeah.
It could just be anybody that
has like
that same sense of thought.
How do you prove that? Like at the end of the day, how's he going to be like, yep, my dad's actually Maximus? I mean, it was this open secret, but whatever. People are just going to kind of have to like take him on his word, I guess. I don't know.
Rings, dude. Everybody has rings.
That's
right.
How
you tell.
That's
that's how you tell who's part of your bloodline.
Yep.
This is my father's ducal signet. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, had to fight that in there, huh? Or squeeze that.
Sorry, that's just what I thought of.
So you think he has warheads?
Maybe, bro. Where's Josh Brolin in all this?
Where's Paul Atreides died in the desert?
You know what? You should wish that, because let me tell you, wait till that third movie comes out. You're not going to like
the desert.
No, that's his son, Leto Atreides. All right, he's turns into a evil emperor. For
speaking of rhinos, seeing fucking rhino head just displayed out on a table was outrageous. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, could you imagine the work it took to get that things off?
Yeah, I had a similar thought.
And then it was cool that, like, you know, they had another kind of undefeated gladiator who comes riding in on a fucking rhino. Like, that was dope. But then the guy's a bitch. He gets wrecked.
We were laughing about it too, where it almost,
that was a little frustrating.
It makes it sound like the way that shot. It's like this great undefeated champion, and then it starts with the rhino and makes you for a split second think that the rhino's the champion. And I was like, damn, that's kind of cool.
He's undefeated.
That's what I thought. I was like, no shit, he's undefeated.
It's fucking riding a rhino.
How dumb
off that thing.
How dumb have these people gotten in 16 years?
Right.
The sharks are very cool. Lord knows how they got those in there.
Yeah, I was.
And that was going to be my
biggest extension of disbelief. I know they flooded the Coliseum, but they sure as hell didn't have saltwater sharks in there.
Yeah. Cool to see, right? When somebody gets hit with an arrow or damaged, they fall into the water. Like, yeah, that's awesome. But then it was just, yes, to Adam's point, I'm like, how the fuck did they get that in there?
I mean, you could have even just like, I don't know, if you had put piranhas in the water, I would have believed that more than just sharks. I don't know, something else.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually tried to think about how they could have done that, and I legitimately don't have an answer.
Yeah, I guess there's not a great solution other than sharks, maybe, but still, it was, once I saw that, I did laugh. I was just kind of like, all right.
I think there's also a moment too that like I saw it was going around, people talking about the like there's a scene where Denzel's got like a Roman newspaper, which like takes like longer than 5 seconds to think about like who's printing that and like what's going on there.
That was another thing I saw in headlines was people were mad that they had a newspaper when the printing press hadn't been invented yet.
That's funny. But again, even like during like the boat scene, it was like they wrote Paul to like, I don't want to be your guys' leader. Well, you're perfect at making us do exactly what you want. So like, I don't understand what you don't want to be a leader or like you do. I'm like, it's just all very. If you would have just stuck with the fact that, you know, I think Maximus's character works so well because he was a general. And he did know how to bring people together. Like, it just makes more sense versus throwing somebody in there that's like, well, you know, I got my mom kicked me out and like, I don't know how to do shit. And I'm here, but I'm still leading people flawlessly.
Yeah, I thought there was a little bit of like just some really odd moments in there too, where when he's supposed to be kind of doing rousing speeches and like we kind of talked about the where death is, we're not, and where we're not, death is, or whatever it is that he says, which is just a even kind of like dumber version than strength and honor, which they also bring back as well too. It's like not only does Paul Mescal need his own catchphrase, but now he's got to use his dad's as well too, and like it just.
Well, could you imagine them all trying to chant that? Death is not where we are, but we are where death is.
Yeah, it just it really did feel like it was like kind of like. To Adam's point, that's where it really felt like the kind of requel-y bits to me, where it's like we're shouting out the old one, but also he's got to do the same thing, but again, and like and we talk like it suffers the Marvel syndrome as well too, where it's like Denzel's character is more or less right, but he just wants to kill everyone, and that's the real problem of like his character. Like he's correct that the Roman like society is shit at the moment, and that someone needs to come over and like take control of it, but like and that he's like suffered, and that there should be something to reparations because of that, but instead he's just like, but I love murder, so I'm gonna keep murdering everyone instead. And yeah, I mean, it just feels it's disappointing in those moments, but I don't
know. The younger twin, I don't know. They're twins. I don't know why. He just looks younger.
The smaller one, you mean?
Yeah. At some point, he references him being sick. Are we like his cancer? Is that cancer?
No, he's syphilis.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
I guess that makes more sense.
That's why he's got all the lesions on his face, and why his
I
brother's
didn't even
like
really see those that much.
His brother's like the infection that burns my brother's loins has affected his brain now too. So yeah, he's a syphilitic moron.
What a character! I mean, like your agent tells you that, and you're like, yeah, man,
I'm ready.
What's your biggest point? Well, I'm gonna appoint a tiny little monkey as my second in command.
The monkey is the leader of Rome, as was correctly pointed out to me as we left the thing.
Waz after the movie ended, goes, guys, are we forgetting the fact that they still got to deal with the fact that the monkey's the emperor? Like, it's not Paul Mescal.
True. I do want to say I feel like Pedro could have done a little bit more. I don't know why. It kind of seemed like he didn't even want to be there. It just kind of seemed like he was like, yeah, I'm kind of this dude's stepdad, but I really don't want to be here, and I hate Rome, and everything's fucked. So
see, that was one of the most disappointing parts about the movie for me, was like I felt they had set up such a great dynamic and kind of story arc for Paul Mescal versus this general character that
take up their swords together and gingerly touch tips and fight against the emperor and
pause. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought they had some kind of set up a good kind of conflict between the two, and I thought the kind of conflict within Pedro Pascal's character of like, man, I'm tired of fighting and seeing these civilizations kind of just uprooted by our conquest for like emperor vanity, and like we can't even feed our citizens yet we're gonna go claim more. It's just like, yeah, that's such an interesting perspective to have. Like, let's run with that for this sequel movie. Like, let's like that the center point, and let's make this character kind of a big focal point of everything. And then I felt like he just that wasn't played out as much as it could have been. And then obviously I feel like Pedro's character's killed a little too soon. But yeah, that was a little bit disappointing for me. I was hoping to get more out of Pedro and his character.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. I felt like that was like the best like emotional dialect that two characters had on screen at one time, and then dude just gets pumped with arrows.
Yeah, brutal death.
0 for 2 in fight to the death for the old Pedro Pascal.
It's the other one. Oh yes. Classic Mountain and the Viper.
Mm.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, he's in Equalizer 2 with Denzel Washington and Pedro Pascal fights him to the death.
That's true.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa!
I haven't seen those movies.
Well, should we get it up on the list?
Yeah. Any closing thoughts?
Honestly, I don't have too much. Like I said, overall, I mean, it's not a bad film. I know we kind of harped on it a little bit with a few jokes in terms of like continuity, sharks, newspaper clippings, how it kind of mirrors the first film. But at the end of the day, it is a Ridley Scott film that's still better than getting a Ridley Scott film in 2024 is better than probably 80% of what we're going to get.
Yeah, right.
right. So like once you put it into context, it's not bad.
Yeah, I still enjoyed my time after coming out of the theater and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, kind of like what you said. I didn't feel like I wasted my time seeing it. Even though 2.5 hours does push on some of the longer lengths of movies that
Sure.
we think is a good timeline. But I think the juice is worth the squeeze. I think there's still some pretty good stuff here. It's just lacking a smidge. But I'll be excited to watch the 4 hours.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what that looks like. Anyone ever check out the 4-hour extended cut of Napoleon?
No.
Absolutely not.
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. I think it's on Apple because that was an Apple movie. All right. Well, welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and throw up Gladiator up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of all the movies we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. It's essentially how we rate our movies rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is. We throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you want to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking that episode description where I've left a link to my Letterboxd. Where did the first one fall? 76 below Kill Bill and above Inside Out 2.
I think I got a spot.
I think I might too.
Where are you going?
I am going at. I'm gonna go 119.
Damn.
I'm gonna go below Prey, above X, and the reason.
Go ahead.
The reason is it's American Gangster, which is Denzel and Ridley, and I can't go above that. I definitely like that more than I like this. And I like this more than Maxine, but Prey right there is like a requel that's better. And
for sure.
Like well, I guess it's a prequel still, but anyways, like that's a better version of it, right? Like that would be Gladiator 2 taking it where he's not related to Maximus and he's just some guy, and like he's going into Rome, and then he's like Denzel's thing. Like that would be that version. That's Prey, right? That's the better version of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm gonna be. 119 below Prey, above X.
That is hilarious. I am right at 120. I think you guys know that I have a fond appreciation for X as far as like those that little trilogy goes. Obviously I saw Prey there. Same thing with American Gangster. Obviously A Quiet Place is something that I hold near and dear. But yeah, The Menu is one of those movies that I think is I think there could be a bit of a gap there for me. And so I think that's where I'm gonna kind of start creating this bridge. But I think 120 right below X above The Menu is a perfect spot for me.
Not too shabby.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am probably I'm a little bit lower. And I think I'm gonna go put it at 127. Below The Conjuring 2 and above. Funny enough,
don't you fucking say it's above The Last Duel.
It's above The Last Duel. That movie sucks. I actually want to put it. I wish The Last Duel was lower. I don't want this thing touching.
You're gonna watch that movie in like 10 years and you're like, Nathaniel, I was so wrong. Last Duel is probably one of the better late period Ridley Scott movies.
So that's a good ranking. I figured Adam was eyeing The Last Duel though, right? Just because I know his thoughts of that one. Ultimately, you landed right above that.
Yeah, there are some movies below. Late Night the Devil is one where I'm like, ooh, I would really like to put that one above
Crank
this.
was probably hard for you to pass up.
Crank, absolutely not.
Crank would
Crank
definitely be
again.
one.
Crank and The Last Duel. Like I'm actually trying to separate those from the rest of the list. Like that's actually what I'm doing here. I'm trying to push those as far down as I can. But yeah, 127 for me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hear where the group is. I think I'm much closer to Adam than compared to Nathaniel and Ty. That 127 listing is good. Originally, I looked at The Last Duel, and to kind of see where that was at. And then oddly enough, then you see Crank below that. Pearl, which I do think objectively is a good film, right? For sure. Different genre. But I would still say has good storytelling, pardon me. Filmmaking, cinematography. Mia Goth is excellent in that. And then one I oddly got to was The Creator. And at least with that being like an original concept, it was like, you know what? I think I'd rather watch The Creator than this. Different time period, so it's kind of hard to compare apples to apples. But I think we need to start giving flowers to original concepts.
Okay.
And I ultimately think I would put this above, or excuse me, I would put The Creator above this. And for the sake of that, I'm going to put it at 135, and I'm going to put it below Die Hard. Because Die Hard is a good film, and we just fucking buried that shit for Die Hard absolutely no reason.
Good point.
Sank pretty far. I would honestly consider joining you at the Creator spot, but I can't put this below Last Duel and Crank, just out of principle. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
Those are two that objectively it's a little difficult to put this below Crank, right? Like I understand in theory how insane that sounds.
Yeah. Well, that does give us an average rating here of 125.25, meaning we'll put it at 126 below Frozen and above The Conjuring 2 and above The Last Duel and Crank. Just throwing that in there.
Your taste is unfortunate.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 126 for Gladiator 2. And that'll be it for our review. Speaking of 2, the number, we have a double episode coming up for you next week, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. I don't know the last double ep we've done. We did one for Frozen.
Honestly, I don't know.
What is it? We've done like a couple of them. Frozen for sure. I forgot what other ones we've done. But anyway, yeah, doing another double ep. It's been a while for that. And then so that'll be Moana and Moana 2. I think Moana, I'm assuming, is just streaming on Disney Plus. I would have to imagine. And that should be out there. I think that's like a shorter runtime, like an hour 40, something like that. But yeah, this definitely on Disney Plus. Just wanted to confirm. It's on Fubo, but it says it's leaving tomorrow. So by the time you watch this, probably not on there. But yeah, watch Moana, and then we're going to do Moana 2. That should be a new movie coming out. I believe it's this weekend. At least it should be. If not, we're in trouble. Yes, November 27th. That does come out tomorrow. Actually, we could probably go see it right now.
There we go.
The old midnight Moana 2 release, huh?
Yeah, guys. Everyone meet up at
packed in there.
Barrington. I think they've got a Dolby screening for us. Midnight. Let's go. Anyway, yeah, check out those movies. The Moana double feature here. Switching it up a little bit. We've been all over the place the last few weeks. Some Fincher films, some horror films before that, and now we're just not even like easing into like a kids animated movie. We're not only that, we're double dipping with Moana's. So check that out. Join us for our review next week. You guys want to do a quick what we're watching? We got some time left here on the episode timer here. I do want to bring up, I don't know if we ever got to it last week. I did watch Heretic over the weekend. Did you guys end up talking about that much last week?
I don't know if Nathaniel and I chatted about that, but I do think we caught it around the same time. I want to say I caught it 2 weeks ago. I think Nathaniel caught it at the same time, right?
Yeah. Yep. I remember you guys saying you guys wanted to talk about it. I don't know if we ever got time. I think we skipped most of the what we're watching last week. But
brief thoughts.
How are you guys?
What you think?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. Not going to be a top horror movie for me for the year. Which, like, dude, that's so funny to think about myself saying, like, how many horror movies I've just seen in a year. And, like, now considering, like, I'm like, yeah, it's not, like, my favorite horror movie of the year. Like, that's just not a sentence I'd imagine myself saying 4 years ago. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed it. I think Hugh Grant's incredible
He's
in this
excellent.
movie. He's so good. He's so funny, charismatic, and like kind of also dark and twisted. Yeah, he just everything he needs to be in that character. He is very very interesting themes that it brings up. I think it falls slightly flat towards the end in terms of like what it builds to, slightly anticlimactic. I don't want to say too much more than that, but overall, like I
absolutely agree with that.
yeah, I think that's everybody. I saw it with two people, and they both said the same thing. I see Nathaniel nodding his head too, so that seems to be a pretty common theme. Which is unfortunate because. Go ahead.
Significant step up from their last movie.
Who's they?
The directing / writing pair on this
okay.
one, who did 65, which is a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh my god, is it really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So yeah, I didn't even deep dive and do the research on that. That's good for them.
Yeah, right.
Good for them.
Great
I now like this movie that much more.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, fell a little bit flat, but other than that, like very interesting concept and good execution overall. I would say I really really enjoyed it. Would be one that I would like be down to get on the pod at some point, and talk about more. Well, what are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, man, I agree. I went in blind for the most part, right? So didn't see trailers or anything. Just kind of heard some rumblings about it through some horror forums on Reddit, and things you come across on YouTube and whatnot. And yeah, it's good. Hugh Grant is awesome in this film for sure. I think it certainly it does fall flat in the last act. Yeah, not spoilers, but I wish they did go completely off the rails and like Lovecraftian horror-esque right at the end. That's what I would have loved to see.
Yeah,
but they ultimately take a different path. But yeah, it's good. It definitely opens up some doors to have some conversations about how people feel about religion and things of that nature, which I'm sure some people have either ventured down that path before or maybe not. So definitely kind of hit a niche for me. As I sometimes go through and battle that thought process as well on religion certain times. So yeah, overall, I liked it. I'd recommend it to somebody. Is it my favorite quote unquote like religious horror film? No, I think I would still put Saint Maud over this.
Ooh.
In terms of when I'm looking at like my peak religious horror. Then obviously like your Rosemary Baby or your Omen, your things of that nature. But yeah.
What about Sydney Sweeney's Immaculate?
I've seen.
I did not watch that.
I
Nathaniel
didn't
touched
watch
on it though.
Yeah, I still need to finish that.
Yeah.
I was
Just watch the
kidding.
first Omen though. If you're gonna watch that, I'd imagine watching the first Omen is the better option.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thoughts. Nathaniel.
Yeah, I had a good time with it. There's still I thought we talked about this last week, but I was in the same boat as Blake, like and Adam as well too. It's really funny to tell the last like kind of 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, but that's so many horror movies as well.
Of course.
Thought both the actresses that are in it are really good. I'm excited to see what they do next as well too.
Would agree.
And yeah, I mean, as in terms of kind of like it on the like scale of horror movies, like I think it will end up being one that I enjoyed during the year, and like think it was again like I didn't waste my time, had a good little time with it. But like overall in the year, when I think about like my favorite horror movies, I don't think it'll be at the top. That being said, I still there's a couple other ones I still want to see. Strange Darlings, I still want to see Oddity.
Strange Darling is one that
Oddity is a good catch.
Yeah, I want to see that. I haven't seen that In a Violent Nature yet either. I want to check that out still as well. So there's still some fun. And then we got Nosferatu coming. Like that's.
Oh yeah,
I'm so excited for that.
That's the one we're waiting on.
Yeah, so I enjoyed myself. Had a good time with Heretic. We'll see. See where it goes. See if we get on the pod or not. We got a lot of other good options as well too.
Yeah, I don't think that's one I'm rushing to the pod, but wouldn't mind getting it on here at some point.
Tyler, you got some what we're watching?
Yeah, nothing too crazy.
Did you stay up watch the race?
I did.
I was going to ask. You watched that GP?
I did. Shout out Max Verstappen, 4-time world champion, absolute baller.
You think he goes for 5, or is his time in the spotlight over?
We will see. I think it helps that Adrian Newey didn't go to one of the top performing teams, so I don't know how much that will help out Aston Martin, especially with their driver lineup. Lance Stroll's an absolute moron, and he's just not winning anything, regardless of what he's driving. Yeah, we'll see what they kind of come up with next season. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And I think it's cool because I think if you keep Max in the state that he was in last year, he just runs out of wanting to be here. There was zero competitiveness for him. He was just walking away with every race. It was very boring for most viewers. Whereas like this season, he had to fight, man. For it to go, you're basically an anointed champion halfway through the season last year versus, at least coming down to the last 3 races of the season is a big step for other teams, specifically McLaren and Ferrari. So we'll see. And I think having Lewis in a Ferrari next year it has a lot of potential to be very scary. The man still has a lot left in the tank, and we'll see, man. I'm excited, and obviously I'm rooting for my boy Max, but all races are good races when somebody isn't winning by 30 seconds. But yeah, we'll see. Other than that, Leah's younger brother is in town for Thanksgiving, so he stayed with us over the weekend, and he is a car guy, but for some odd reason he has never seen Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Wow.
And so we just threw that up on pretty randomly just to have something kind of on in the background, and he ended up watching it, and so that was pretty fun to go through. He thought it was hilarious that I could basically quote the entire movie. As with most Fast and the Furious movies that you'll find, especially the earlier ones.
I can't attest.
But yeah, and then I've been working my way through Vikings again. Pretty much done with that, and then I restarted Vinland Saga because the second season came out not too long ago that I haven't watched, so I wanted to do a thorough rewatch of the first season. Because if you're an anime watcher, even if you try to start a new anime, you don't always catch everything that's going on. You just get very in the mood of just throwing something on to have anime on. So I want to make sure I was brushed up on the first season before I started the second season. So that's pretty much been it for me. Blake, what have you been getting to?
Not much really. A ton of sports. Unfortunately.
Oh yeah, go Pack Go.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about that last week, which I'm glad. Unfortunately, consuming Chicago Bears football, right? So, but it looked a little bit better the past 2 weeks.
What a hilarious way to lose again.
But yeah, it's tough. As we said before, Adam and I usually bounce some texts off each other after the game. This week, we didn't even fucking text each other.
I didn't even bother.
That just kind of lets you know how the season's going, right? It's down. It's real dark down there. But outside of that, honestly, I don't think I caught anything the past week. Just kind of regular old, same old. Plan on getting to some things this week. I actually do want to get to shout out our man Eli Roth. I do want to get to his Thanksgiving horror film.
Sure.
This year, as I missed it, it's called Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So I do want to get to it over the Thanksgiving weekend. I missed it last year, and I think is that a 2022 film, Nathaniel?
I think I want to say it debuted last year.
Okay,
maybe
gotcha.
not.
So maybe I didn't see it in real time last year, but then it's been on my list, and I want to try to get to it this week. So we'll see if I can get to that. But outside of that, not much. Nathaniel?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, it was I didn't get to much either. But it's just really been prepping for work for Black Friday. It's that time of year, folks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you ever get your speaker back?
I did get my speaker back.
No,
Hey, justice
there you
for
go. Round of
Nathaniel.
applause.
Let's go.
I did get my speaker back. Yeah.
Nice. You seen that delivery driver since then?
No, he got fired.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Cool.
Ready to get out of here, boys?
Let's do
Yeah.
it, man.
Thank you all for listening. Please make sure you share the podcast, share with a friend, a family member, a gladiator or two, or a rhino if you know any of those laying around.
A shark.
A shark. There you go. While you're doing that, follow us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and our YouTube is just Back Row Banter. Please go subscribe to us there. YouTube number's been looking pretty good as of late. And their email for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, or anything of that sort is backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. We'll kick it over to BlakeHolder. Where can people find you at, my man?
Yes, sir. Letterboxd BlakeHolder. I'll be on there. Log some things written out of 5 stars. PSN, Xbox, Mr. Water Coolers, Instagram, Mr. Water Coolers, and we'll pass it over to. We'll actually go back to Adam.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at H24 and on Letterboxd at H. That's AYYSH. Nathaniel.
You can always find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at @NSGingrick. You can find me on Instagram, NathanielG92. Sandpiper Tapes is my other podcast. Tyler, get us out of here.
Instagram, Letterboxd, and X are all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES. And on that note, we appreciate you stopping by and giving us a listen. Spread the word. We want to grow. And be thankful. It is Thanksgiving on Thursday. And be thankful for what you got. Life is too short. And just have fun. Be safe. And safe travels. We'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
But this also, to sidebar, this also brings up a secondary point that I'm wondering if it is another generational divide thing. Adam, do you location share with your friends?
Yes. Not all of them, obviously. I'm not just handing out my location. But yes, so my girlfriend's got my location. My close friends have my location. I have theirs, just a few people. Not a ton. I know some people where it's like they'll just share with whatever. And on Snapchat, I have a few people. Yeah. So but yes, I do location share.
So I hear you on that though. I have
giving me the wildest look over.
I have a few friends' location, and some friends have my location. To be fair,
you know
but
what, Nathaniel, I'm going to give you my
since,
location right.
It's my roommates in college, and it's been that way since 2015.
Sure, yeah,
you know what I mean. And no one's just ever turned it off. But it's like 5 of us.
100%. The funniest one that's happened to me like that, because I've had a couple of those happen, is one of my brother's friends shared his location with our entire group chat during his bachelor party, and he's still sharing his location with me to this day. Nathaniel, you're gonna get my location 24/7 now. You have it indefinitely. I don't know, but you got it. Anyone else? Blake, you want it? Tyler, you can't because you don't have iPhone.
My wife's the only person that has my location.
I will only use it if I'm going on trips and I'm yep, I'll be driving for 6 hours.
She's also the only person that has ever had my location.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Same thing. I could never.
That's fair, Ty.
I could never I had a friend ask me that out of the blue. They're like, "Do you share your locations with your friends?" I was like, "I've never thought about it. Nor have I ever really thought man, really I wish I knew where Blake was right now."
It's just fun to look at sometimes.
Point though, it's I don't know the last time I've actively did it. Like I said, it usually goes back to something that happened in college, or to your point, if you're just on a trip with some people on vacation, someone happens to share location, and then you just never fucking turned it off.
Fair enough.
Fast forward 5 years and it's still there.
Yeah, I will check my girlfriend's location if it's is she went out to the bars or something like that, where she's at, or she got home yet, or that kind of thing, or
I'm from a generation where we just did not know where people were at.
I genuinely think that's the thing where I'm just I don't know and I don't give a fuck.
There were no cell phones. It was hey yo, come back
I'll see you when you walk in the door.
All right, I'll do my best.
Right. What's crazy to me is like I control who has my location, both on Snapchat updates. I've got like a few people on Snapchat, whatever. But that only updates when I open the app, so like it's not even like people can live track me, that kind of thing. And I've only got less than 10 people that I like share my Find My on iPhone. But like when I go on Snapchat, there are people who like will just have their location shared to everybody they have on Snapchat. So if you just added them off the street, you have their location. As long as they're actively
that can't be safe at all. Right?
No, absolutely not. Like I don't know who would do that, but like there are people like I just have their locations on Snapchat because they just have it set to everybody that they're friends with on Snapchat. So like if you just randomly added some random person at the bar, they just know where you are.
That's terrible.
That brings up that like tweet in my mind that's like Ted Bundy would do video game numbers in today's society.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's super concerning.
I don't know, because that kind of goes the other way too. If he's got a cell phone, he can get triangulated pretty quick.
100% as well too. But it's just that thing of just that, like you have no idea how open and vulnerable you are until someone points it out. In some ways,
yeah.
And I feel like that's one like great inbuilt fear that maybe I have. That's maybe a millennial generation. That's just like, yeah, you could just have some shit. Like I live in fear that one day, like the knock comes on the door and the guy's like, yeah, you don't remember this, but you missed the toll booth this one time, and now we take your house. Like, here's photographic evidence, and your entire family's mine now.
Yeah. So to touch on that real quick, then Adam, how many folks do you share a location with? This is
let's check.
Curious on this.
Well, me now.
Want to place bets?
Yeah, not plus one because Nathaniel he has my location. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including my girlfriend and Nathaniel. And then I can see Mike's location. That's my brother's friend. He's in Michigan right now.
Yeah, just doxing this man. On pod.
This isn't live, It isn't live.
Full name.
Michigan's a big place, right? They got. There's Michigan's separated by a lake. All right. I should probably bleep out the last name if I put this in post pod. That's probably a good call. Yeah,
that's funny.
But yeah, he's in Michigan right now.
But yeah, that's okay. So that's not too bad. I've got
It says sharing location with Drake. What is this?
5 friends.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it just dwindles as we get down the list here. 7, 5. Nathaniel's probably got like 3. I got 1.
I think it might be.
Nathaniel has any.
It might be my parents, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. No.
And that would be if I left one of those on. Generally, it's like stop at end of
Blake,
day.
I'll give you my location as well. I've been driving by your apartment building a lot.
Okay.
Recently. Just
so now you can
hollering
see
out the window.
Yeah. So when like I'll just start like
yeah, maybe don't. Or Blake, if you see him coming, maybe make sure you're not there.
Adam's on a little sus trail these last couple of weeks.
I got you, Adam. I'll get with you, brother.
No, Blake's apartment is on my route back to and from PT. Northwest. I follow Northwest Highway. I go all the way to Park Ridge, so usually I'm taking Northwest Highway out there.
Okay, right. Yeah, you're literally passing right down.
Exactly. So
good alibi. No, I have to drive past there. I don't know why he's dead.
Sometimes I gotta park in his parking lot too for 10 to 15. I gotta make a phone call. I'm gonna pull over. I know it's safe to park there.
He could live on the 4th floor, or I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah. Sometimes I stand outside and I flash Morse code in the parking lot to try and get his attention, but it's not a big deal with my.
Can't even throw pebbles that high.
Yeah, well, that's
Well, not with my right arm, with my left. I mean, we're getting there.
That's what he's training for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we're gonna get back there.
Well, I've added one to the list.
There we go. Back to my original point. The action button, you can program it to your focus.
Share your location.
Well, yeah, you can do that too. I'm sure you could. But I have my action button. It changes via my focus mode, so that like when I'm at work, like the action button will do different things. When I'm at home, it'll do different things. When I'm at the gym, it pulls up my like workout app. So pro tip for you guys. If you ever, whenever you guys upgrade phones,
getting murdered by someone in the thing. He's trying to hit.
Well,
the
you can program
button.
it to 911, Nathaniel. All of your problems are solved. All right. Literally, I'm
imagining you hitting the action button, but you're in sport mode at the moment, so it's just giving you your heart rate, and you're trying to unlock it. And like,
That's funny.
Some fucking scream shit is happening to you.
Did the verbiage of action button like just start with like the 16? Is that like Apple like trying to start some new
us
15?
They're like, it's no longer just a button, it's an action button.
Yeah.
Well, no, they got
Folks-
rid of the mute switch that was here and turned it into a button.
Folks,
Oh, God, do they really?
folks, generation 14 and older.
Well, by so 15, I think it started.
We called it the power switch.
Yeah, mute switch, whatever it was. And then this is by default the mute button if you just don't want to change it. I use my action button all the time. It controls my lights, so like action button, and I can change like, oh, it didn't work that time. There we go. Changing my lights, turn them on.
By the way,
off,
listeners, this is a paid
I
advertisement.
was gonna say flawless technology.
Yeah. No, I'm a big Apple fan. They don't need to pay me. I'll give them free advertising.